99% of Fortnite players think that fighting skill is all down to two factors: your aim versus your mechanics. The tier 1 pros that win FNCS and win cash cups, they realize that majority of fighting skill is all down to your fighting IQ. Once you reach a certain level of mechanics and aim, the only difference between who wins and who loses a fight is all down to how smart that person is at doing peaks and predicting their opponent, which is exactly what this 3-step routine is going to help you improve. The best part about this routine is it doesn't waste hours doing mechanics or aim training. You get straight into improving your IQ at fighting instantly, and it takes less than an hour to complete, and you can also do this for an entire day of playing and notice a remarkable improvement within a short period of time. I'm going to be laying out the full 3 steps that you need to follow if you want to improve your fighting IQ, as well as an in-depth way of noticing your mistakes and fixing them fast at the end of the video. So let's get straight into this. Now, the first step of this very simple practice routine is to hop straight into either realistics or zone wars. Don't do any freebuilding, don't faff around doing any sort of mechanics, aim training or anything like that. Instead, just get straight into fighting so your mechanics aren't warmed up, and this is intentional. You don't want to be spending ages warming up before you actually start fighting somebody, because then you're not going to be thinking while you're fighting. When you're not warmed up and your fingers aren't moving as fast as normal, instead you have to start using your brain and using your fighting IQ, which is so important for long-term improvement, not just relying on mechanics and trying to piece people. Now, for whether you should do 1v1 realistics or 1v1 zone wars, I would recommend choosing the mode that you are worst at. If you're really good at realistics, instead swap over to zone wars, and the exact opposite applies as well. Choose the mode that you're worst at, so you're working on your weaknesses, whether it's 1v1 realistic fighting where you need to play heals and you need to play defensive, or whether it's zone wars where you've obviously got the zone moving in and you need to start being alert of what's going on around you and constantly keep moving. Choose which you're worst at and make sure you're playing against somebody decent. Don't just play versus the same player every single day that you hop on. Try to find somebody equal or near your skill level that's going to give you a tough time in some of the rounds, and try to do at least 30 rounds of this, which should take, between 15 or 20 minutes. You don't want to spend too long on your initial 1v1s, and again, don't do any free building or warming up before you do this. It makes such a difference and makes you start relying on your fighting IQ instead.
No! I missed!
For step 2 of this practice routine, after you've done around 30 rounds of 1v1s, I want you to hop straight into some endgame practice. You can either do this 32 player Cup Zone Wars map that's on screen right here, or you can do this Cup Endgame solo map by Gripey as well. Both of these maps are very good options, and I want you to focus as you're playing this on treating it like a real endgame where you want to get as many placement points as possible, as well as you want to be trying to win as many rounds as possible. And you're not just going to mindlessly queue this up, you're only going to be playing 10 games, and I want you to focus each time you do this routine trying to get a better average placement and more points in those 10 rounds that you get to play total. Don't just sit there playing like 50 rounds in a row and you're not really trying after the 20th round or so. Instead, only play 10 rounds. It should take around 20 minutes in total, and it's going to really lock you in and focus you for what's going to come next. And again, these maps are some of the best way of actually practicing endgames at the moment, and also practicing how smart you can be in solos. When solos eventually do come back, if they do, this map will really help you be primed up and ahead of the competition when they return. And also, it's just a very good warm-up, because not only are you working on your fighting skill, you're also working on your rotates, as well as your in-game IQ and predicting people when there's a lot of other people around and being safe as well. So very, very important map to do as part of your warm-up. Now, in total, you should be about 30 or 40 minutes into this routine, and for step number 3, this is the most important one, because this is what the bulk of your practice is going to look like. And of course, you are going to be playing reload rank. What I'd recommend doing is trying to speed run as fast as possible to Unreal, so you get the highest rank and you get the best players you're up against, and from there you're going to be really deliberate with how you play reload. So many people, they play reload, they just run around and they don't take the fight seriously. Instead, I want you to treat reload in a couple different ways depending on your current skill level and what you need to work on. Let me explain how. So you either need to put yourself into 2 categories of player. Are you somebody that struggles with defensive and winning fights when you're low HP and actually getting counter shots without taking damage in return? So are you somebody that struggles just trading shots the whole time? Or are you somebody that struggles with ending fights fast enough and not being aggressive enough? Most players will fall somewhere between these 2 different types of player archetypes, and you need to decide what you are. For me personally, I'm super good at playing defensive, and I'm very, very good at it. I can basically live whenever I have to, and I can build loads of boxes and not take damage. However, I struggle with ending fights quickly, so that's going to change how I actually play my reload ranked to make sure I'm a more balanced and versatile player. Don't just practice what you're already good at. That's the whole point of this warm-up routine. So let me explain how you actually want to approach this. Let's say, for example, you're somebody like me who can't end fights quickly. You want to carry as many many mobility items as possible in reload and try to get in as many fights as fast as possible. And don't be afraid with taking damage to actually end fights, so you can actually practice how you need to approach winning fights quickly. So many people, they play reload and they don't play it properly because they're just working on what they're already good at. However, let's say for example you're somebody who is really bad at defensive fighting. Whenever you get hit to low HP, you obviously shouldn't actually be playing reload hyper aggressive, trading lots of damage and trying to end fights quick. Instead, what you should be doing is trying to play super smart every single fight, doing smart peeks, smart angles without taking any damage in return. This is going to build up really good fundamental habits for you, and also whenever you do get hit, you're suddenly going to have to learn how to play defensive and get your heals off. So it depends on what type of player you are, how you should actually play reload, which is really important. Now I'm sure at this point a lot of you guys will be thinking, oh, I know exactly what my weaknesses are and I know how I'm going to improve them. But what I'd recommend doing is asking you, the guy who you 1v1'd earlier and you did around 30 rounds of 1v1, what he thinks of your weaknesses and strengths. This is really important. When you do so many 1v1s up against somebody, especially if they're a smart player, they're going to figure out exactly what your weaknesses are and try to exploit them, especially if you're fully tryharding, trying to win the rounds. They're going to be tryharding as well. Don't just hop into reload knowing, oh, I need to work on being aggressive. Instead, think, be mindful of it, and make sure you're actually not being biased and just going, oh, I'm a really strong player, I don't need to practice, because that's what a lot of pros do, and that's how they end up falling off. Instead, be very aware that you need to work on certain things, which we'll take a look at in a second. Now, the question is, what type of reload should you play? Should you play ranked? Should you play duos? Should you play solo versus squad? There's a lot of different options right here. And what I'm going to recommend, obviously always do ranked so you get better players that you're up against. You can either do solos, but the issue of this is people tend to run away and, you know, the players on average aren't the best when you get into fights. What I'd actually recommend doing instead though is playing either solo versus duo or simply just duo versus duo with somebody that you know. This makes reload a lot more fun to play since obviously you have somebody to respawn off of and you can sort of work as a team. So it's very good for building up your team fighting as well. But also it gives you the opportunity to try to 1v2, you know, play time for your teammate. If you're trying to work on your defensive, play aggressive and wipe duo before your teammate actually gets over. There's so many benefits of playing duo versus duo, and I would recommend avoiding playing squads simply because the players aren't that good and you're basically just gonna be farming kills the whole time, and the players again just aren't that good. Instead, play either solos or duo versus duo, and this is the best way to practice, but make sure you're being mindful of what you need to work on. So how do you actually do this correctly? Now the final step of this practice routine is quite simple. However, you need to be mindful that you actually do this rather than just, you know, mindlessly practicing and just fighting and dying and respawning over and over. Instead, every single time you have a fight that's a little bit close, maybe you take too much damage or you didn't play your defensive box fighting correctly, or whether you actually just straight up died and you had to respawn and then go down and get your loot with your teammate or whatever it is, you want to go back and try to rewatch that or replay it in your mind. As you can see, Resub has already griefed my video wanting to get some reload cracked. So what you would do is either hop straight into your replays after a game. Let's say you get, you know, you didn't win the game and you had a couple deaths, hop straight into the replay and actually figure out what went wrong with your deaths. And this is super easy to do because as you can see, it marks all of your deaths really clearly. And this is super simple to do because as you can see, the replay marks all of your deaths the whole way through the game really easily. So this doesn't take more than a minute each game that you do this for. Then very simply rewatch your death and try to make note of what happened. Don't just say, oh, I was unlucky or I didn't have any loot. Try to think objectively what you could have done to avoid dying in that situation, because as you can see right there, that was 100% preventable death. I had the side wall and instead, because I was trying to be aggressive, I took an angel, the guy did a nice peek, and this guy pretty much shit on me, let's be honest. And the exact same thing right here, like as you can see, I've messed up my stare at it, I've done some like crazy stare at it and I'm standing on the incorrect spot and it's led to my death. You don't need to be too smart with the mistakes that you're noticing. As you can see, I messed it up again. All you need to do is be aware that you're making these mistakes. Try to make a small mental note, maybe write it down on a piece of paper. And alternatively, if you have, you know, clips on or, you know, recordings live, you can actually do this as you play. So as soon as you die, try to replay what you did and take note of why you died and what the cause was. Whether it's just messing up a stare at it that you can practice in creative and, you know, practice working on it a little bit more, or whether it's just doing something dumb like taking an angel that you shouldn't when the guy's got you full box. There are so many little things that you die to in reload that you can fix very quickly just by replaying and rewatching. And this is going to really help not just your improvement, but improving your fighting IQ, which is the key part of getting better at Fortnite. Alright guys, that is all for today's video. I will be having some more fighting related YouTube content coming out very soon. A whole video on how to improve your timings while fighting. However, in the meantime, if you want to improve your fighting and you are 100% serious about getting better at becoming a better fighter, then go check out the Fighting Masterclass 2.0. We are now up to 230 exclusive videos inside here that you can't find anywhere else. And when you sign up, you get access to all of them for lifetime, as well as all of the amazing updates that we're going to continue to do for the Fighting Masterclass. And as you can see, you don't just learn from like me and Resub who made the actual masterclass, you learn from all of these pros as well. So if you enjoy learning, you know, directly from a pro and what the pro player is thinking as they're playing. All of these pros, you've got Muzz, Vico, Shark, Pixie, you've got Teeny if you're a controller player, we've got Aviv down here, we've got so many, you've got Sphinx, we've got Chino, who just got second FNCS, we've got Marius, who just won FNCS as well. We've got upcomers like Demas, we've got Bolts in here, we've got Rax, we've got so many players inside here that we're teaching you their fighting. And that is not all. We've got down here a full section on becoming a better, more elite fighter as well. Loads of advanced stuff that most pros don't even do to this day. We've got a full section on trios fighting if you want to improve your trios fighting and you sort of struggle with that. We've also got a full section on improving as fast as possible. So this isn't just, you know, fighting IQ, this is sort of mechanics and Kovacs routines as well. And I should mention as well, there is a full section down below with a load of Kovacs routines from a bunch of pro players as well at the bottom if you're interested. As well as we've got a full other section of inside the mind of the pros, a full section on fighting fundamentals. There is so many stuff inside the Fighting Masterclass, now over 200 videos, 230 videos, and we're going to continue to do updates as well. So you can go ahead and sign up, get all of these videos, get a literal treasure trove of information on getting better at fighting, and all of this stuff is really useful if you want to become better at fighting. Just from making the Masterclass and watching the videos and making them, I've actually become way better and way smarter at fighting, which I think you guys have probably noticed from the quality of the background clips improving over time. Anyway, please leave a like, go check out the Fighting Masterclass down below, and I'll see you guys on the next video. Thanks for watching.